the Purple Heart. This was much easier. But I tell you, it was such an honor, and maybe I can bring him up on the stage. Lieutenant Colonel Louis Dorfman. I just happened.
Well, that's one of the moments of the week so far, and there's been a lot of talk about the missteps by Donald Trump, but how much of it is real and how much of it is created by the media? And here's an example of the poignant moment on stage on Tuesday during Donald Trump's rally in Virginia, when retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Louis Dorfman presented the Republican nominee with his Purple Heart. Lieutenant Colonel Dorfman was injured serving in Iraq nearly 10 years ago, but despite the gesture, questions began to surface about the authenticity of the medal. Take a listen.
Let me just say this, but the veteran made it very clear to reporters that this was a copy of the Purple Heart, not the real one. So, I mean...
Yeah, but he's still, the sentiment was there from the guy.
After a recipient of the Purple Heart Medal, an award given to soldiers wounded in combat, gave a copy of his medal to Trump at a rally.
As NBC News reported, the decoration, which is awarded to service members who are wounded in combat, was in fact a copy.
So yesterday I talked with Lieutenant Colonel Dorfman to set the record straight. Was it a copy of his medal or was it his Purple Heart?
It was my real Purple Heart. I showed, I had two Purple Hearts with me. I had my original in my pocket, and I had another one that I was showing in case it got damaged or lost or snatched or whatever the case may be. I wanted him to have my real Purple Heart, which I gave him.
I thought that was so interesting because it's been such a big story this week about Donald Trump's reaction, and then the press saying, oh, it's not the real Purple Heart. My husband is a Purple Heart recipient, so I wanted to ask him about it as well. You know, is there a real medal and then you have copies? And he was explaining to me that of course you get a real medal during a ceremony and that you could have other versions that either you wear or you display, but it really doesn't matter whether or not Lou gave his medal that he received in the ceremony to Donald Trump or not. He gave him his Purple Heart. So splitting hairs over that seems to be a way to try to minimize that gesture in some way, which is shocking, really.
And what do you want to bet that in media accounts of this on through the campaign and beyond, it will often be referred to as a copy, even though you got him saying it's the real deal.
And that was not difficult, by the way. We just called Lou up and asked if he'd like to come talk to us, and we asked him straight if it was real or not, and you heard what he had to say. So it wasn't a challenging fact to check, and I'm glad we got the real story here, but it's interesting to see, as you mentioned, John, it'll probably be perpetuated as a copy even in the weeks to come. So interesting story to watch, and now you know the facts.